It begins quietly, almost unnoticed. The moment she realizes you're never going to text again, it doesn't strike like lightning. It unfolds slowly, like a shadow stretching across her thoughts. At first she brushes it off. You've gone quiet before. Maybe you're busy. Maybe you're giving her space. Maybe, just maybe, you'll reach out later, like you always did. But as the hours turn into days and the days into weeks, a strange feeling begins to settle in. The silence that once felt like a pause now feels like a goodbye. The stillness she once took for granted begins to echo in the empty spaces where your words used to live. She stares at her phone, scrolling through old messages she once ignored, searching for meaning in the words she used to overlook. Every text now reads differently. Every moment of softness, patience, and care stands out like a memory carved in stone. She begins to see what she couldn't before, that you were never just another man trying to win her over. You were the calm in her chaos, the stability she mistook for weakness. And now that calm is gone, replaced by a silence that speaks louder than anger ever could. She tells herself stories to protect her ego. Maybe you're testing her. Maybe you'll come back when you cool down. She convinces herself it's a phase, that the silence isn't real. But deep down she knows it is. Because this time you didn't send that one last text. You didn't ask if she was okay. You didn't explain your absence. You simply stopped. Not as an act of punishment, but as an act of understanding. You realized that trying to fix someone who's comfortable in their chaos only destroys your peace. You learned that true power lies not in convincing others, but in mastering yourself. A Stoic man doesn't make grand exits. He doesn't argue, plead, or explain. He just goes silent when his energy is no longer valued. That silence is not emptiness, it's strength. It's the boundary between peace and pain. It's the quiet declaration that you will no longer pour into something that drains you. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." And there was nothing left to say. You had already spoken through consistency, effort, and care. You had already shown what mattered through action. And when that was ignored, silence became your language. The beauty of silence is that it demands reflection. It cannot be argued with or manipulated. It doesn't beg to be understood, it simply exists. And the longer it exists, the louder it becomes. That's what she feels now, the weight of your stillness pressing against her pride. She once thought silence was weakness. Now she realizes it's power. Because when a man like you stops talking, he's not surrendering, he's ascending. You stop seeking closure from her, because you found it within yourself. And as the silence stretches on, she begins to understand that what she's really hearing is not the end of communication, but the sound of your peace taking its place. At first she welcomes the quiet. It feels like freedom, like she's finally in control again. No unread messages pulling at her emotions, no calls to answer, no weight of expectation pressing against her chest. She tells herself this is what she wanted, to breathe without pressure, to have space, to think. She convinces herself that silence is a break, not an ending. But silence has a strange way of transforming. It begins as peace, but soon it becomes a mirror. And in that reflection, she starts to see the truth she spent so long avoiding. The silence isn't waiting. It isn't a pause. It's final. The days go by and she checks her phone out of habit, not hope, or so she tells herself. But each time she unlocks the screen, there's that empty space where your name used to be. She scrolls through her messages, through the history of your patience, your kindness, your effort. The words she once dismissed now sting with meaning. The messages she ignored now feel priceless. What used to be constant is gone, and in that absence, she feels the weight of something she never valued until it vanished. Your presence. Your silence becomes something she can't escape. It lingers in the moments she thought she'd fill with distraction. Music doesn't sound the same. Conversations feel hollow. Even laughter fades quickly. Because behind every distraction, there's an echo. And that echo carries your calm, your steadiness, your energy. She begins to understand that you weren't just a man who texted her. You were a man who anchored her. You didn't control her, you grounded her. But when you withdrew, the ground beneath her shifted. And now she's trying to find balance on her own instability. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And that's what hits her hardest. She wasted yours. She wasted the effort, the understanding, the patience that you gave so freely. Because a Stoic man's attention isn't ordinary. It's focused, intentional, rare. And once it's gone, it doesn't return. Your silence isn't punishment. It's the absence of your energy, and that energy was what kept her world from collapsing under its own weight. Now she begins to sit in the same silence she once created. The stillness she used to enjoy when you were the one reaching out now feels heavy. Every hour of quiet stretches longer. Every night feels slower. She replays every unread message, every ignored attempt. Every moment she chose distance over connection. And it hurts. Not because she lost you, but because she realizes you didn't leave out of anger. You left out of acceptance. You stopped trying to fix what wasn't yours to fix. That's the truth that stings the most. Your silence isn't revenge, it's closure. It's the final act of a man who no longer seeks validation, who no longer trades his peace for temporary attention. You didn't walk away to make her miss you. You walked away because you finally understood that your energy is sacred. And now she's trapped in the very quiet she once used to control you, realizing that your silence is the loudest message you've ever sent. As time moves forward, the silence transforms from emptiness into presence. It lingers in the air like a memory she can't escape. It's not just the absence of your voice. It's the feeling of your calm that refuses to fade. She tries to fill the void with noise. New conversations, new faces, new moments designed to distract her from the growing ache. But none of it works. Every interaction feels shallow, every laugh feels forced, and every new face only reminds her of what she lost. She thought your absence would give her peace, but instead it revealed how much of her peace depended on you. What she misses isn't the constant messages or the attention, it's your energy. There was a steadiness in the way you moved through her storms. You didn't react to her chaos. You absorbed it. You didn't argue. You understood. When she pushed, you didn't crumble. You stood firm, calm, and collected. She mistook that stillness for indifference, but now she sees it for what it truly was. Strength. The kind of strength that can't be faked. The kind that only comes from a man who has mastered himself. Now, every memory of you feels different. The moments she once took lightly now feel sacred. The patience she once dismissed now feels like gold. She used to think she could find another you, someone who cared but didn't cling, who stayed calm when things fell apart. But every time she looks around, she sees the same thing: noise. Men who seek validation in attention. Men who perform confidence instead of embodying it. She feels the difference immediately. Your silence, your control, your discipline, none of it can be replaced. You weren't like the others. You didn't need to prove your worth. You were your worth, and that realization begins to crack her ego. The same ego that once told her she could replace you easily now whispers doubts she can't silence. Every man she meets reminds her of what she destroyed by not appreciating it. She remembers your composure during arguments, the way you stayed grounded when she tried to pull you into emotional chaos. She remembers how you didn't react when she tried to provoke a response, how you met her storms with stillness instead of anger. It frustrated her then, but it fascinates her now. Seneca wrote, "No man is crushed by misfortune unless he has first been deceived by prosperity." She was deceived. She thought the excitement of chaos was love, that unpredictability was passion, that peace was dull. But now, standing in the silence you left behind, she realizes that peace was the very thing she needed most. Your calm wasn't weakness, it was mastery. Your silence wasn't avoidance, it was understanding. You became the mirror she didn't want to face. The reflection that showed her how her own behavior destroyed what she thought she wanted. And now, as she looks back, she realizes that the stillness she once mocked was the same stillness that held everything together. You didn't lose control, you became control. Your silence broke her ego, not through cruelty, but through truth. And that truth now echoes in every quiet moment she can't escape. The longer the silence lasts, the more it begins to change shape. What once felt like a void now becomes something she can feel pressing against her thoughts. The silence she once used as a weapon is now being used against her, though not by you, by life itself. It tests her patience, her pride, her sense of control. She starts to wonder if you're truly gone or just pretending, if your peace is real or just performance. But the more she searches for signs of weakness, the more she's met with nothing, and that nothing is what terrifies her most. Because in that nothing, she feels your strength. You don't post emotional quotes. You don't make subtle hints online. You don't move out of anger or desperation. You've disappeared from her world completely, but your presence lingers in her mind like a ghost she can't forget. You've become a mystery, and nothing is more haunting to the human mind than uncertainty. She used to know how to get to you. One message, one call, one emotional trigger. But now nothing works. The same silence that used to frustrate her has become your fortress. It's untouchable. Epictetus said, "He who laughs at himself never runs out of things to laugh at." You've reached that place. You've learned to smile at what once broke you. You've made peace with loss, with endings, with things beyond your control. The man she remembers would have responded by now. He would have asked what was wrong, tried to fix things, sought clarity. But that man is gone. You've evolved into someone she no longer recognizes. A man who doesn't chase closure because he carries it within. So she tries to test the silence. A simple message, something small. "Hey, how have you been?" A breadcrumb, an invitation for you to step back into her world. But when you see it, there's no spark of emotion, no rush of adrenaline, no warmth of nostalgia, just calm, the same calm that now defines you. Because her words no longer carry power over you. You no longer seek validation in responses, no longer measure your worth through attention. You've outgrown the need to be understood. Seneca said, "He who has learned to die has unlearned how to be a slave." And that's exactly what happened. You let the old version of yourself die, the one who chased, who explained, who needed to be heard. In his place stands a man reborn through silence. You didn't ghost her, you graduated from her. You realized that peace isn't found in control, but in surrender, not in forcing outcomes, but in releasing attachment. Now your silence isn't about her, it's about you. It's your declaration of mastery, your quiet rebellion against emotional chaos. It's your proof that strength doesn't shout, it simply is. And as you remain still, she's the one left moving, reaching, questioning. Because in a world addicted to noise, the man who can remain silent becomes the loudest of all. Time passes, but the silence never loses its weight. It becomes something sacred, almost untouchable. The distance between you and her has turned into a mirror that reflects two very different paths. You've grown quieter, calmer, more centered. She's grown restless, uncertain, haunted by memories she once dismissed. What once seemed like indifference now feels like strength. What once seemed like absence now feels like presence. Because the silence you left behind still speaks louder than words ever could. You no longer think about what she's doing or who she's with. You've stopped checking if she notices your absence because you understand now the need to be noticed was never power, it was dependence. True power came the moment you stopped needing a reaction. You learned to sit in solitude without letting it consume you. You learned to love the stillness that used to feel unbearable. And in that stillness, you found something she never could, yourself. She, on the other hand, starts to feel the pull of time in reverse. The longer you stay silent, the more she's drawn back into the moments she thought she'd forgotten. She replays every conversation, every quiet night, every glance where you looked at her with calm conviction. She realizes that your energy didn't fade, it shifted. You no longer orbit her world, she orbits yours. And the irony is cruel yet poetic. She once wanted you to chase her, but now she's chasing the version of you that no longer exists. Your transformation unsettles her. She can't comprehend how someone who cared so deeply could detach so completely. But what she doesn't understand is that detachment isn't coldness, it's wisdom. You didn't stop caring. You stopped giving energy to what drains you. You stopped fighting battles that only left scars. You chose peace over chaos, discipline over impulse, and purpose over emotion. In doing so, you became what few men ever become, untouchable. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. That's what your silence has become, a living example of that truth. You no longer react. You respond. You no longer chase. You attract. You no longer seek to be understood. You choose to understand. And in that understanding, you've discovered something she still hasn't, the freedom that comes from letting go. Now she watches from afar. Maybe she won't ever admit it, but she feels it. Your absence has reshaped her. You've become the standard she compares everyone else to, and none of them measure up. Not because you were perfect, but because you were real. Calm in chaos, steady in emotion, firm in your silence. She begins to realize that what she mistook for detachment was actually your evolution. Your silence has done what words never could. It has spoken truth, demanded respect, and taught her what presence truly means. You didn't walk away to punish her. You walked away to protect your peace. And now that peace has become your power, the silence that once broke you has built you. And in that transformation, you've shown her and the world that the loudest message a man can ever send is the one delivered in complete, unshakable silence.